Welcome to today's Explainer. Did you know that back in the early 1800s, the average American actually drank 3 times more alcohol than we do today? It was a genuinely staggering amount, and honestly, it's exactly why a massive web of reform was about to absolutely explode across the country. Now, if you've ever thought of history as just this dusty, boring timeline of isolated dates and completely separate events, get ready, because we're about to completely shatter that illusion today. We're diving into the era of the early republic and expansion. But we're not just here to memorize facts, right? We are going to look at how human passion, faith, and serious moral drive created a literal interconnected web of reform.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We've got 1. History is a web. 2. Linking early reform movements. 3. Shared leaders and causes. 4. The momentum of change. And 5. Morality and education combined. Let's see exactly how these 5 unique strands interconnect to form the 1800s reform movements.
Kicking things off with Section 1, History is a Web, Seeing the Connections. To really get a grip on how American society reshaped itself in the 1800s, we absolutely have to stop viewing history as a set of separate events just sitting in their own little boxes.
Think of the entire 1800s reform era as a massive cause and effect web. It's essentially a visual network showing how different movements deeply overlap. What's so wild about this is that this level of grassroots networking was a brand new phenomenon for the young nation. When you picture history this way, you realize that tugging on just one strand of activism sends literal shockwaves through the whole system. When success happens in one area, it doesn't just stay put, It naturally encourages and inspires action in a completely different area. It's a living, breathing network of activism.
Moving right along to Section 2, Linking Early Reform Movements, the Ripple Effect. Let's see what happens when you tug on one specific strand, like religious revival, and how it directly moves another strand, like education.
Check out this chain reaction. We start with step 1, the religious revival, specifically that massive historical wave we know as the Second Great Awakening. But the momentum absolutely didn't stop at the church doors. The revivalists strongly believed that children needed to be able to read the Bible for themselves. That religious zeal demanded a highly practical solution: public schooling. So the push for religion literally fueled the push for education reform. And at the exact same time, this moral awakening sparked the temperance movement, aimed at reducing alcohol consumption. Pledges to stop drinking circulated so widely that it led straight to Step 3, a significant reduction in alcohol abuse. The what is the reform itself, but the how and the why are deeply rooted in that initial religious spark.
All right, Section 3, Shared Leaders and Causes, Overlapping Activism. Let's look at how the people driving these incredible changes were often the exact same leaders, cross-pollinating their efforts across totally different causes. Think about the shared focus between these groups. On one side, we have the abolition movement, fighting fiercely to end the terrible injustice of slavery. On the other side, the women's rights movement, fighting for female equality and, eventually, the 19th Amendment. Now, why did women's rights leaders so often support abolition and vice versa? Well, it's because absolute heroes like Frederick Douglass, Lucretia Mott, and Susan B. Anthony were out there actively fighting on both of these fronts. They believed both causes were fundamentally about the exact same things: equality and justice. These leaders recognized that human rights are completely interconnected. You just couldn't fight for one without fighting for the other.
Up next is Section 4, the momentum of change, building a better society. Now, we'll focus on how these individual, sometimes highly localized victories snowballed into massive, unstoppable societal shifts. You can clearly see how inspiration travels here. Just imagine being an activist back then. You pour your heart and soul into Step 1, the temperance movement, and you actually see success. You literally see society changing for the better. That success gives you profound hope. It acts as Step 2, a direct inspiration for prison reform, which was championed by fierce advocates like Dorothea Dix, who radically changed how the mentally ill and incarcerated were treated. And then, completely energized by their own progress, activists campaigned for better schools, leading to Step 3, with figures like Horace Mann acting as the architect of the public school movement. Actually seeing social change succeed in one single institution gave activists the proof and, frankly, the hope they needed to improve the others. This interconnected web of activism wasn't just some fleeting trend or passing fad. It built an unstoppable momentum, one victory stacked right on top of another, creating this massive wave of societal reshaping that fundamentally altered the course of American history. It carried its powerful momentum straight into the Civil War era and well beyond. Finally, Section 5, Morality and Education Combined, the Godly Learner's Philosophy. We're going to shift now from historical facts to personal application. Let's connect the actions of those 1800s reformers directly to your life today by looking at the philosophy behind the godly learner. I want you to listen to this and really let the weight of these words sink in. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. That's Galatians 6:2. This wasn't just a nice thought for these reformers to put on a poster. It was a mandate. This biblical instruction to carry each other's burdens is exactly what fueled them to stand up against injustice. They saw societal problems as burdens they were spiritually obligated to help lift. And that brings the focus right back to you. Just like those historical reformers, you are called to this exact same standard today. You can stand against injustice, you can help a classmate who is struggling, you can volunteer your time, you can speak up for what is right. Your everyday actions, when they are rooted in faith, continue that exact same network of positive change in God's kingdom. Always remember, no act of kindness is ever too small to matter. You are part of that ongoing web. Which naturally leads us to a huge question. One that sits right at the core of the HeroesMart Academy Godly Learners series. What is the point of being smart and supposedly educated if you're just going to keep making bad choices that hurt people? Seriously, think about that for a second. We spend so much time focusing on academics and getting good grades, but if the mind isn't guided by a moral compass, what is the ultimate result of all that learning? I really want to emphasize this point with deep conviction. Education without morality will hurt. This is a foundational philosophy we have to wrap our heads around. True education absolutely has to be paired with a strong moral foundation, because if you are highly educated but completely lack the morality to make compassionate, just decisions, your smartness can actually cause a lot of harm to yourself and to society. The 1800s reformers knew this for a fact. Their education and their morality were completely intertwined. But here's the beautiful part. There is a profound reward for keeping these two connected. Romans 8:6-7 promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. This is the ultimate goal. When you pair your learning, your education, and your everyday actions with faith and biblical morality, the result isn't just a better society out there. It is a personal, deep-seated peace of mind in here. That is our experience, and for sure, it's the experience of people who truly engage with this godly learner philosophy. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Consider this your homework to really get you thinking and applying what we've mapped out today. Which reform movement do you think have the greatest impact on history, and why? Look back at that cause and effect web we just explored together. Dive in, examine the history for yourself, and see how your own moral mind can help shape the future. Thank you so much for learning with me today.